I thank the member and call the member for Goldstein.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. And can I start by congratulating the member for North Sydney for his wonderful contribution and motion moved before the chamber today. I've got to say it's quite embarrassing to follow on from the diatribe that we received from the other side from the member for Oxley, because the objective of this motion is quite clear. It's to recognise and respect a government that has governed for all Australians. It's to break the tradition of the Labor Party in the past, where they govern for their union mates, the select few friends that they have, where they piece together different constituencies to develop some sort of a majority, where Liberals always have and always will govern for the whole nation, and to look at the opportunities of what we can do to advance the interests of the whole country and move it forward together. And that's why we should be proud of the fact that together, when we used to have a Labor Party that was constructive, that worked with the Australian people and sought proper economic reform, we have been able to achieve 25 consecutive years of economic growth. And we congratulate the previous governments who have contributed to that. But we know full well that the Labor Party today would take the exact opposite position and the exact opposite approach if they were given the keys to the Treasury vaults. And that's why this government is working successfully to make sure that we can build Australia's future and the opposite opportunities of the 21st century. And it's not just that we believe in economic growth as an end in itself, but because it enables us to deliver the social dividend, to be able to help the less fortunate and build people up, rather than do what Labor wants to do, which is to take resources from some constantly to the advantage of the select few who give them patronage or relationships. The other very important thing is the achievement of this government around border security. And, Deputy Speaker, having worked in this space and worked with the people who have suffered the human consequences of the tragedy of Labor's policies, this is one of the proudest objectives and achievements of this government. When it comes down to it, having been into detention centres and seen the human consequences of what happens when children are held in long-term detention, they ought to be ashamed of themselves for their legacy. And one of the proudest achievements of this government is that we got children out of detention on the Australian mainland, because you haven't seen the consequences of the legacy of your failure. You do not understand how much harm you do to children. And that is why we are proud to have closed detention centres across this country. We are proud to have got children out of detention. And we are proud now to have looked at very serious avenues to close down Manus Island and Nauru. Not just so that we can obviously save the Australian taxpayers' dollars, but we can give people pathways in life so they can get on with their opportunities and be able to move on with their lives. That is a very proud legacy of this government, and we have to particularly congratulate the Minister for Immigration and Border Protection for his achievements in that space. Now we are looking at the future. Now we are looking at how we can make economic opportunity for every Australian by changing laws, particularly around the ABC or the establishment of the ABCC, to reduce the cost of construction in Australian work sites, so that we can actually get costs down, so we can increase the affordability of housing, so we can create an environment where we get better bang for the taxpayer's buck. That should be the focus, not just at a national level, but it delivers huge benefits to the states. And that is an incredibly important legacy. It should be achieved, and I'm very hopeful it will, and I'm very optimistic it will. We will come at the benefit of the Australian people, but at the cost of the select few who Labor take their direction from. And that's why they oppose it, Deputy Speaker. It isn't for some sort of great benefit for some particular for the Australian people. It's because it undermines their position as a Labor Party, where they're interested in doling out favours and opportunities for their Labor mates. But finally, Deputy Speaker, I want to pick up on a very important point, which is the success of this government is that it has shown leadership. Leadership that is so often absent when you have the other people, the other side on the government benches. And leadership of Malcolm Turnbull, the Prime Minister, and the Deputy Prime Minister, Barnaby Joyce, by projecting a vision of how we can create a country where everybody moves forward together, that's built on an economic and socially forward-looking agenda, while also preserving the institutions and our culture that make this party great. and look to a sense of responsibility for every individual is why this government is achieving what it is today, why it will achieve things in the future, and why it will continue to govern for every Australian. And you know the best bit, Deputy Speaker? The best bit is there is so much more to come.